Good evening, viewers. Welcome to Racetech's V8 ESC Triple Sprint Night, brought to you from Detroit's Belle track, a track fraught with walls and tight turns and long straights. In the booth with me tonight is Bill Switzer.
Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening from. Welcome to Belle Isle. It's nicely situated in the river between Toronto, Canada, and Detroit, Michigan, United States. And as Pete mentioned, it's a very tight, twisty little track, and you have a mistake here and it's going to hurt you. But it should be pretty interesting. We have a relatively small field, but it really should be a barn burner. So we'll see how it goes. Back to you, Pete.
And on cameras and not very often heard is Sam Boozan. Clyde Whiting, who will be joining us later on, is having some technical issues associated with the Windows update, I'm led to believe. So, looking at the stats from last time, without the drop scores, Gary Croft seems to have accumulated the highest amount of points with 2,201. 1975 is given to Harold Stadler. George McClay is in third with 1964. The two contentious drivers, arguably the ones that are at the front of the field or dicing for the front of the field, are Tony Klusterman and Johnny Brandon in fourth and fifth. Then we have Ronald Moons, Andrew Hoffman, Rich Warmingham, Lane O'Connor, and Mike Frost to round out the top 10, and that's before the drop score. So as we go through the league, the drivers at the end of the league will be able to drop their worst scores.
Most of those gentlemen are here as well. Gary Croft, who's in the first position, is here this evening. And we have a couple people that we haven't seen too much in the sprints here. We got Chris Jackson here tonight, and Lane O'Connor's back with us. He's been with us before, but he's here tonight too. So ought to be fun.
So right now we have 7 minutes. Oh no, we don't have 7 minutes and 35 seconds remaining. We've got about 2 minutes remaining of qualifying. At the moment, we've got Tony Klusterman and Johnny Brandon. It's almost as if I pre-scripted it earlier. Both turning the fastest laps. Tony outdoing Johnny by 1/10. So Tony's got a 1:30.373 at the moment. If all stays as it is, he'll lead us off in pole position. We've got Johnny Brandon in second, like I said. Rich Warmingham doing a great job again, almost matching Johnny Brandon's time. George McClay, 1:30.670. Harold Stadler, 1:37.53. Chris Jackson, 1:30.917. So just over half a second splitting 1 to 6 in the field. So it's going to be quite a tight race. The first of the races, because that'll be in order of qualifying, will be absolutely tight in that first few turns. So don't turn away from your sets. Then we've got also in tonight's race Steve Lavallee, Gary Croft, Lane O'Connor, and Ronald Moons, with Michael Frost not setting a time in qualifying just yet. Not sure why. I don't even know if he's on track. I'm just going to see if I can get him.
Excuse me, Pete. I did see Mike out there circling around. Maybe he hasn't run a clean lap as of yet.
Yeah, I found his car. His car's parked in the pits at the moment, so maybe he's planning on having a safe start from the back of the field and watching the chaos in front. What do you think is going to happen at the start of this race?
Well, I think it's going to be a cluster, to be honest with you, but maybe cooler heads will prevail and they'll go calm the first race. Usually the people that tell you to, take it easy on the first lap are the ones that cause the problem. So we'll see what happens. I wanted to mention I am totally impressed with Rich Warmingham. He's really come up of late. He was basically a middle group driver, and look at that. He's right in third place qualifying here. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's great stuff from him, to be honest. I don't think he's out on track at the moment. If he is, I'm struggling to find him. Again, the same goes out to Harold Stadler. I can't believe the results he's pulling this season. It's absolutely fantastic.
He is absolutely. Go ahead, Pete. Sorry.
I was just going to say, in the podcast the other day, he said it was to do with practice, that his improvement in his performance, but also just watching him, he's just piled into the into one of the corners. maybe a bit more concentration during the race. But he also said it was to do with having setups, very good setups for this car. This car's very hard to handle, isn't it, Bill? If you don't have the right setup.
Oh, you got that right. I'm the king of bad in this car, and it is very difficult, but it's a heck of a lot of fun, and it's to me it's a at least to me anyway, it's a very difficult car to master. Um, but I just really enjoy this tin top type racing, something that takes a little bit of what should I say, finesse to drive rather than hammer down, turn right or turn left. So it's really it's an exciting car to watch, and somebody that's really good at it is a magician as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, there's some mystery associated with how you can go around. Well, for me, like 2 or 3 seconds faster than I do. But I'm going to throw myself on my sword good and earlier here, and prove to you how bad I can be with this car. After about 50 laps of Bathurst earlier, I managed to destroy the car, and Clyde wasn't very happy as my teammate and team boss. So yeah, I piled the Bathurst 1000 Vulcan Racing Holden Commodore into the wall at the top of the hill. So very embarrassing. And apologies to whoever it was that I took out with me.
Well,
Hopefully they
yeah,
won't find me.
listen, Bathurst is hard enough to go around 5 laps, let alone 161 without some problems. That's a very demanding, probably one of the toughest courses in the world. It's got a mixture of everything, and it's just magnificent. It's, in my opinion, best track in the world, and I think you did an admirable job. Hey, you went, I don't know, 50 or 60 laps or whatever. Nothing wrong with that. At least you were out there better than I did today. I sat trying to figure out how to get on the computer today, so good for you.
Thanks, Bill. Right, we've got lots, well, not a lot of activity, rather, as we start to form up onto the grid now. So, just to confirm, the front row, Tony Kloosterman and Johnny Brandon. Behind them will be Rich Warmingham and George McClay. Harold Stadler and Chris Jackson take up row 3. Gary Croft and Steve LaValle, I hope I'm saying your name right, Steve, in row 4. Lane O'Connor and Ronald in row 5, Ronald Moon, sorry. And bringing up the rear at the moment, Michael Frost. Still waiting on a number of cars to form up on the grid.
Looks like Tony Klosterman and Johnny Brandon are playing a little bit of, who moves first or who flinches first at the moment.
Yeah, I know that both of them like to come out late on in the formation so that their tyres are at the right temperature, usually with about 45 seconds to go. There's Johnny Brandon, and I'm sure in a couple of seconds Tony will take his place in pole position. For those who are interested, Tony's time remained at 1:30.37. Everybody will be managing their fuel levels for this race. There we go. Tony has now joined the field at the front there. Revs are up. Look but don't stare. And they're off. So we've got some slow cars further back, or one that didn't take off quite so well. Well, we've got an accident at the back already. That's going to end up in that we've got Ronald, Gary Croft, and Lane. I don't think anybody else was involved. Just those three.
One of the Flitzy's cars is into the wall too.
Ah, right. I must have missed that one. At the front, though, at the moment, Tony has maintained his lead. Johnny's just fallen off his back bumper a little ways. Rich Warmingham's in close company with his teammate, Johnny Brandon. George McClay rounding out the top 4. Steve LaValle, a bit of a gap back to him at the moment. Chris Jackson, I think he managed to dodge all the shenanigans at the start. He's still in his retro colours. I'm sure, Bill, you'll be able to tell me whose car colours those are.
I have to see which one it is. I don't know.
Ronald seems to have got away with a small amount of damage.
He's
Oh,
missing
maybe not.
both front wings.
He is missing both front wings. That car's going to handle like a tank.
And
Michael
Michael
Frost.
Frost has some damage. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, that's a wrecked car. I don't know whether you can get that on screen, Sam. He's going to have to spend some time in the pit. Well, we get a free reset here. He'll go out in his spare car. Same for Harold Stadler. He's got damage. Don't know where he's picked up that damage from, but it's quite significant.
That was the crash I saw on that front straightaway there. That was after the first incident that you were calling, Pete.
Right. And Lane O'Connor, well, it's more like a go-kart right now. Sorry, Lane. There's not much left of that, mate.
I was gonna,
And his steering is terrible. That's not good. So,
I was,
lots and lots of activity at the start.
I was gonna say Lane O'Connor. I don't think he's got a straight panel left on that, and we've only gone one lap.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's what happens at Belle Isle. These are concrete walls. They're utterly unforgiving, and there's not a lot of room.
Hey,
But
both Harold and Lane are in the pits.
yeah, I think there's going to be a bit of a wreckers yard thing going on in the pit lane this time round. Tony is definitely pulling a gap on the cars. I'm going to go to blimp cam so I can see this a bit better. So Johnny's still in second place. Rich Warmingham dropping off at Johnny's back bumper for a little ways. George McClay's in close contention with Richard though, so if Rich makes any bad moves, I'm sure George will be on him. Steve Lavallee doing a great job of avoiding walls and crashes and everything else that's going on right now.
Yes, he is.
Even if he's dropping the top four. And then Chris Jackson following up in sixth. Seventh is still Ronald Moons. He's not boxed. He's going on with the carrying the damage. Just going to check out Harold Stadler's car now, because he's been in the pits, I think. Yep, his car's back to standard.
Well, it looks like George is making a move on Rich. Yep, he's by him. George McClay into third place. Rich Warmingham's dropped to fourth.
Yeah, I'm just rewinding that just so that I can see that overtaking manoeuvre. So he puts his car perfectly inside Rich Warmingham there.
It was
not dive bomb
excellent.
by any means. That was a
No.
perfect overtake.
Absolutely, it certainly was.
Very controlled, very calm. Hopefully the viewers get to see that. Now, this... excellent. Cheers, Sam. Told the viewers before we didn't hear much from you, but there you go. Right, I'm pretty convinced that Johnny has reeled in Tony a little ways here.
No, he's not letting him go.
He's not. I've got a funny feeling this is going to get very interesting a little bit later in this race. George
Agreed.
McClay now is going to set off after Johnny. Steve doing a great job. I think he's pulling in Rich Warmingham now as well. I wonder if Rich Warmingham's carrying any problems. I don't think so.
No, his car looks okay.
Yeah. I mean, hot lapping is one thing when you're in qualifying, but when you're in the race situation, it can be often be very, very different, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. And Steve Lavallee, even though he's back, is kind of keeping pace with them. He's not really. I mean, he's back several feet, but he still is not too far away from him.
I was going to say that Johnny had caught right up to Tony then, but he got awful drive out of that last corner. I'll apologise to all the viewers. I don't know the names of the turns on Belle Isle. I've raced here a few times. I won an MX-5 race here once. An official race, that is. I have never ever been anywhere near the front when I've raced a V8. Have you raced around here, Bill? You haven't, you?
I did a. Let me think. No, I don't think I have. I missed last year's race. I was kind of being stubborn. I didn't own the track yet, but it's a tough course. I know I went out and tried to practice a little bit, and there wasn't one wall that I didn't hit. It's a tough little course.
It's brutal, isn't it?
Yes,
There's
it is.
nowhere safe on this track.
You have to be very gentle with a car on this track, I'll tell you.
So Chris Jackson's still carrying damage according to my cameras. He's
Oh,
got a bust up.
Johnny looks like he's trying to
Oh,
make a move.
we've got Lane O'Connor. Oh, he's just exiting pit lane, that's all. He must have had some serious damage to be in there that long.
Johnny's getting serious now. He was right, making a move, trying to get by Tony just then, and he hit the curb and kind of lost his momentum.
Yeah, and it's one thing getting on the back of somebody around this track. It's entirely another to situate your car where you can overtake.
And knowing Tony the way we do, he won't be happier helping you get by.
No, I mean, look at how Johnny's reined him in there.
Yep.
Hopefully the viewers saw that bit there as well, because he took maybe 6 car lengths out of Tony. It won't do his tyres any good though.
Nope. I'll tell you, it's amazing watching from the booth like this, how smooth these guys look. And you know as well as I do, Pete, when you're in the car out here, it's like flying a fighter plane in a gymnasium, for God's sake. This is a tough little.
It is, yeah. Really good analogy there as well. And regarding how smooth these guys are around all of these tracks, all I can say is I hate them all, because I don't have that kind.
Hey, I'm with you too, Pete. No problem. That's why we're in the booth.
Damn right.
Now that's a real gunfight up front right now. Let me tell you. Johnny's closing in really. Oh, he's going to the outside.
He's showing his nose, but he's not. Oh, he is. I don't know how he's going to make that though. He's going to
trying
cut
to do
back
a crossover.
He nearly did that as well.
Okay, they're in the second turn now.
Right.
Really tight on that corner, third corner.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, here comes the straightaway. Probably got a pretty good chance. He's right with him.
Yeah, I'm on board with Johnny at the moment. Going around that last turn, he was almost attached to the back of Tony's car. He's having a look on both sides here. This is an overtaking opportunity, but Tony's covered the inside. Can he block the undercut? He can, because it's very tight around these next couple of turns. A little bit of lack of adhesion for Johnny coming around that last one.
All right. The next corner after this one, Johnny's got a pretty good chance if he can place his car correctly. Here he comes. Nope, not yet.
No, he had a little twitch to just show his car to Tony's mirrors.
Here we go. This could be up. He's a little far away now.
Yeah, he got some wheel spin coming out that last turn. He's going to struggle to be on terms with Tony into this turn here. Not really an overtaking opportunity around here, but there is at the end of this straight. Unfortunately, again, Johnny's got poor traction coming out.
We apologize for not covering some of the guys in the back, but this is a real go-getter right now.
Yeah, good point. Good point. He's got a good drive out of that one. Tony was a bit squirrely coming onto that little short straight there. And then I think it's just a battle of traction.
Tony sure knows how to put his car in the right place, doesn't he, Pete?
Yeah, it's like he's driving a truck. Meanwhile, a bit further back, Rich Warmingham's still in touch with. Oh, and Johnny. Oh, that was tight. And very, very close.
Was. He's really close now.
Was that a little love tap, maybe?
Yeah, it could have been. It was very close, that's for sure.
He's certainly pushing it. Further back, we've got Steve Lavallee still circulating pretty much on his own on a country drive. Gary Croft, very much in the same place. Lane O'Connor, on his own circulating behind him. Ronald Moons, still going, still with his damage, I think. Chris Jackson, same. Harold Stadler got a lot of catching up to do there in 8th. In 9th, we've got Michael Frost. And then back with the leaders. Johnny is definitely squaring up Tony now. This could be either brilliance or tears. He kind of overdrove that. It's like he was caught between going around the outside and cutting back. I think he didn't do himself any favours.
No, he did. I still find it hard. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I'd love to try his setup.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, look at the toe he's getting down there. That's obscene kind of closing. I think, if anything, George McClay.
Whoa, that was a little bump.
It certainly was. He's apologised for it on the Inter Miami.
Yeah, it didn't really change the standings any. So
no, I'm just going to have a quick see of what happened. Yeah, just a little nudge, and he came off the gas because he's a gentleman.
Absolutely. He's falling back a little bit now. I don't know why.
He got very, very, very close to him again while we were talking about the last nudge. I think it's all in good spirits at the moment. Yeah, I'm convinced George McClay is reeling them in, and Rich Warmingham's using George's toe to close onto the back of them as well.
Oh, here comes Johnny on the inside. Whoa! I wonder if he got into him that time. That looked pretty close.
Yeah, I'll have a look at that. You keep on the live screen.
I'm watching. Tony sure shut the door on him that time.
Tony ran wide in the previous turn to that one, and it gave an opportunity for Johnny. There was no contact, believe it or not.
Boy, it looked close, I'll tell you.
Oh, it was. You couldn't get a Rizzler paper between them.
A very astute observation, Pete. I agree with you. I think George McClay and who's behind him? Steve Warmingham is they're close. Rich. I'm sorry. Sorry, Rich. I mean, that's a simple name, and I always mess up his name. I feel terrible. I do. Steve.
So Johnny's dropped off Tony a bit, so we'll catch up with the rest of the field. So behind Richard, still Steve Lavallee, or Love Valley. Gary Croft just behind him. Well, not just behind him, he's a bit further back. Lane O'Connor, one full straight behind. Ronald with a bit of limited adhesion, coming through in sixth. Chris Jackson, still circulating with I think he's got a fully fixed car now, in seventh. Harold Stadler, unusual to see him outside the top five, really, isn't it, at the minute? But he got caught up in those crashes at the start, didn't he?
Yeah, first lap he crushed his car pretty hard, nose first into the guardrail coming off turn one there, and well, it didn't end his day, but it didn't help it any.
What do they normally race around Belle Isle?
I was going to say, I can't believe that they actually race Indy cars here.
You're kidding?
Absolutely.
Oh, there is, yeah. We have activity. Is that Michael Frost? It was George. George went straight on at the turn. I don't think he collected too much damage. That's a shame. That little fight was going on quite well. Did you get that on the replay? Okay. Yep, as am I. So that's a shame. That was a battle that was brewing. Hopefully Rich Warmingham can close on Johnny and Tony while they're battling. It is amazing when two cars start to battle in front of you and you've got open track, how quickly you close.
Yeah, well, the two guys that are battling, especially if they're close, they're playing defense and offense, and it ends up, they slow each other down. So that's a perfect opportunity, and I'm sure Rich is licking his chops, hoping maybe they have a come together and he can zip right.
Yeah, hopefully. And of course, Johnny is his teammate. I've never seen anybody in the V8s do anything like team driving before,
Nah,
where he might slow Tony down or anything purposefully so a teammate could come through. I've never seen
yeah,
anything like.
me either. No, this is a great league, great sportsmanship here, and we have our differences from time to time, but it's quick. You talk about it for 5 minutes, it's over. You move on. And it's not like Monday morning we got to get out our checkbook and write a check for a crunch car.
True enough. Yeah, thankfully the repairs on the simulator don't cost thousands of pounds.
Exactly.
So Johnny's managed to get back on terms with Tony to a point. I think this straight here, where he's going to be in the slipstream, will bring him back onto his rear spoiler.
And we're getting close to the end also.
He does take a very shallow line into that turn, and it ends up putting him quite wide afterwards.
Whoa,
That must be
Rich Warmingham's into the barrier down there, just that last turn we just went through.
well. And he's
Wish I
pulling up
knew.
the vehicle, I think, as well. Yep, that's
I,
exactly the same place as George.
whoa, Tony, big sideways slide. Here comes Johnny. He's going to try it. Tony lost a little of his momentum.
He
I think
did.
he's
That
got.
was epic. He's
Maybe
managed to
not.
keep it. Oh, Johnny's sideways, but has he got the traction? Oh,
Whoa.
contact. That's going to end up in a conversation later. One with no coffee.
They talk about rivalry in motorsports. Well, rivalry in motorsports. This is one right here.
It certainly is, yeah. Very close in terms of talent, but different types of talent. Johnny's very direct, and his setups are very aggressive setups. And Tony, whilst he's a very aggressive driver, he's very, very smooth at the same time.
Correct. And they're both in their own right gentlemen too, which is really nice.
Couldn't agree more. So again, Tony taking the defensive line into the sharp right-hander. Arguably, Johnny's in a better position, but Tony knows that the next turn isn't far enough away for Johnny to capitalise on that, I think.
Yeah, to make a pass like that in the wrong position.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, look at it.
Inside. Oh, and that's
that
going to end in tears.
That hurt.
It certainly did. All I could see from inside.
I think Johnny's going to let him by.
Yeah, without a doubt. All I could see from Johnny's cockpit was the underside of Tony's car as it went on to.
Yeah, got right into the side of him.
I don't know what damage either of them are carrying after that.
Tony's left rear quarter and his boot lid is going.
Yeah. He's already closing in on Johnny, but whether Johnny's doing that on purpose, let's see what happens here.
I think he's going to try to let him go. Maybe not.
Well, Tony tucked in behind Johnny just then.
Yeah.
And I think Tony's got some damage because he's got very poor adhesion to the track. I'm just on board with it.
There's no rear spoiler anymore. It's gone.
That'll be catastrophic in this vehicle.
Especially on a track where you can't make any mistakes.
Sorry, Sam. That's a lap. So, Johnny, I don't know whether he tried to hand the position back or not. He was certainly on the wrong side of the road going slowly. He might have got the hurry up from Tony to say, no, just carry on. Tony is in a bad way, and he's sideways into the barrier. He's got no traction. His tyres must be red hot after the incident with Johnny.
Oh, Rich saw that. He's hungry. Rich Warmingham is closing in on him.
Yeah, well, it's Steve LaValle in third now.
Was that Steve? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Steve, Mr. Stay Out of Trouble, XVR Racing, in the Racetech V8 ESC League, closing in on Tony Klusterman, who's got a very damaged car. Johnny's going to be playing it safe. Johnny's car doesn't look like it's even touched. Unbelievable.
I know it. Steve, my apologies, mate, for calling you Rich. Sorry.
Michael Frost is on track in 9th. Gary Croft in 10th. George McClay further down the track behind both of them in 4th after his spin. Lane O'Connor, very limited adhesion to the track there, no grip at all. Ronald Moon's still carrying that damage, doing a great job in 5th. Top 5 finish for him, as long as he doesn't fall into the clutches of Chris Jackson.
Okay, Tony Codd 2nd, Steve LaValle 3rd. Tony doesn't have any front wing. Got a left front wing missing on that car too. Wow.
I think everything's missing at the minute.
Well, that was a bit exciting. Gotta love this car. Amazing.
It is incredible.
Absolutely.
Doesn't sound like there's any animosity between the two on the airway.
Yeah, they're usually not. They usually talk about it later, kind of stuff. They don't blaze over the air with bad words and stuff. So hopefully,
No, not.
I mean, I don't think either one of them would take the other guy out intentionally. I really don't. I mean, you're going to make mistakes, as you well know, Pete. It happens in this car. I don't care what anybody.
I make more than everybody else, as far as I can see.
No way, buddy. I got you beat by a ton.
You want to run the viewers through the finishing top 11?
Sure. Okay. First place was Johnny Brandon. Second, Tony Klusman. After the accident, he was 6.2 seconds behind Johnny. Third was Steve LaValle. Fourth, George McClay. Fifth, the wounded Ronald Moons in socks. Sixth, Chris Jackson. Seventh, Harold Stadler. He soldiered on after his accident. Mike Stadler, one lap down in, let's see, what position is that? 7th. Michael Frost in 8th. Gary Croft in 9th. Rich Warmingham, after a nice run up till pretty close to the end, came in 10th. And Lane O'Connor in his go-kart came in 11th. So that takes care of that.
Thanks for that, Bill. Right then. Yeah, let's commentate on that. So, start of the race. Tell me when you're ready, son. Right, marvellous. So, the top 5 seemed to get away with everything. And the bad news started to happen. Where Ronald Moons was concerned. Yeah, and Gary Croft, his car was on its side for a while before he reset. And he reset to the box. Lane O'Connor struggled to get his car oriented in the right direction. Harold Stadler carried on for a bit and lost it again. Just a messy start at the back end of the field. The front end of the field, much more healthy situation, although a lot of people carried damage. Chris Jackson fantailing a bit into certain corners after losing a few panels off his vehicle. But out without any damage was Steve LaValle, George McClay, Rich Warmingham, Johnny Brandon and Tony Klusman. You say what happened to Harold, Tom? Right then, let me rewind where I'm at, because he lost virtually the whole of the front end of his car after getting away from all the damage. Wouldn't you know it, the bit of footage that from the network closing out, I can't see anymore. But it seemed like he had coming together with Chris. So, yeah. Interesting first race of the night, Bill.
Oh, definitely. Nice battle up front.
that battle up front was epic, to be honest. It seemed to go on forever. And some serious damage being carried by some cars.
Yeah, well, I think you can probably, unless you mess up the steering or the front suspension, I think you can soldier on this course a little better with that kind of stuff than you can on a on a track that's wide open, that's fast and sweeping and stuff. Whereas here, mostly I don't want to say slow speeds, but slower than like Bathurst or someplace like that. So I think you can get away with it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I wonder what that's going to do to the championship because Gary Croft, of course, it was on his side at the start of that race. He's in first at the moment without the drop weeks. And the two winners, Tony and Johnny, will end up leapfrogging George as part of that, and probably Harold, because Harold finished further back.
Yeah, yep, he did.
That'll be a big shuffle. And the next race, of course, is a reverse grid. Unless I've got that terribly wrong. Am I right with Sam's desperately busy somewhere, clearly.
Well, I that's the way they usually do it, and
Yeah.
in the super sprints, which we're doing, they don't. It's everybody, not just people on the lead lap. So whoever was last should start.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody in the lead lap.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Oh no, everybody, not just only on the lead lap. So
Exactly.
it's
Yep.
everybody.
Full field, yeah.
Yeah, full field.
So, how long's gonna our break gonna be?
About 15 minutes.
Right then. So, everybody viewing, make sure you come back and watch race two. It's if you imagine a reverse grid in such tight conditions as Belle Isle, it's certainly going to be interesting. Might be a wreck fest. Everybody loves a little bit of a crash, right? And we'll be joined by Clyde, who will retell everybody how I ruined the car in the Bathurst 1000 earlier today.
Yeah. Everybody come back. It's going to be epic. I'm looking forward to seeing Johnny and Tony working their way through the field. That'll be interesting.
So, to everybody, see you soon.
Cheers.
session. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Race 2 at Belle Isle in Detroit for the Racetech V8 ESC Sprint Series Championship. Race 1 was a nice competitive race between Johnny Brandon and Tony Kloosterman. Not much could separate them until Johnny Brandon's front bumper separated them by quite a long way. Race 2 stands to be even more tasty than race 1 because the grid is reversed. In the booth with me, I've got Clyde Whiting now.
Good evening, everybody.
Bill Switzer.
Welcome back, everybody.
And in the background, doing all the technical stuff, is Sam Boozan, who doesn't often say very much.
Okay, they're
Revs
on
are
the grid.
rising, guys.
I'll let you lead them
And
off,
we
Clyde.
are green. So far, so good. It looks like we've got a bit of a cleaner race so far.
Appears that we have two XVR cars of a different color out front right now.
Yeah, two at the front, two at the back. So everybody seems to be keeping their nose clean, which is good to see.
Uh-oh. Got an
Or
incident.
was.
Lane O'Connor wrapped into the wall, got into Rich Warmingham. And they got Ronald Moons involved, too.
Yeah, got Chris Jackson in the wall as well.
Okay, the XVR cars are pulling one of them is Rich is pulling away.
Yeah, I think Lane just put his hands up in the air there and apologised to everybody for a cock-up.
Yeah, he got loose, got in the wall, and ricocheted right back into his team.
Gary Croft's got a smoker on as well. Looks like Gary's not having a particularly good night.
No, he's having a tough night. Okay, Rich is in the pits. I should say the whole thing. Rich Warmingham's in the pits.
Gary Croft's car looks like it's burning.
Yeah, it's just trying to wind back to see what happened to Gary, whether he got involved in that XVR come together.
Yeah, I can't quite see that because iRacing is not my friend today, and it took forever to load up the session for. Ronald Moons is back on track, circulating seventh.
Looks
Sorry,
like
mate.
Harold Stadler's moved into first place. Looks like he's missing his left front wing, though.
So I'm just watching the Gary Croft incident at the moment. Got Harold in front of him.
Second place.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Clyde.
No, sorry, Bill. Yeah, the Gary Croft totaled his car when the two XVR drivers came together. It was sort of a roadblock that he couldn't get out of. And then Chris Jackson was another one in the wall. See if I can find out what happened to Chris.
Meanwhile, Michael Frost has succumbed to George McClay, who's positioned his car very well. I think Mike might have brushed the wall slightly. He's blinking in and out of existence as well. And he's got Tony on his 6 right now.
And guess who's together with him, Pete?
Yeah, his friend, Johnny Brandon. Tony taking a shallow line into that tight turn again. They've got very different lines into there. It's almost like they balance one another out.
I think he's covering, though, Pete, so that Johnny can't get inside him.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it doesn't seem to impair him that much. I think he just made contact with the wall as well. Sure, that was Tony making contact with the wall.
Yeah, he got pretty sideways.
Yeah. George McClay in front of them and Harold Stadler just done one down the road. He's got damage, though. Quite a lot of it, by the look of things.
He doesn't seem to care. He's going like crazy.
Yeah, he's missing his right front quarter panel. George McClay's front end looks like it's been sandblasted for some reason. Tony Kloosterman chasing after him, and his shadow is behind him in the form of Johnny Brandon. Let's hope there's some clean passing this time round. Michael Frost doing a great job, keeping, well, relatively clean. He's got some damage because he drove his own car into the wall a little bit earlier. Steve Lavallee also had some activity on that car. All the panel beaters in the pit lane are going to be very well employed at the end of this race, or this series of races. Ronald Moon's even, his car looks identical to how he circulated the last race. He's got damage on the right front again. Unbelievable. Maybe he just gets out of his car and gives it a good hard boot before he starts racing.
Well, that all stems back to that initial incident with the two XVR guys. So
Right.
Gary Croft goes into them and totals his car, turns it into a smoking mess. Chris Jackson has a light brush with Gary, loses his left front wing and ruins his paint job, and then I don't know whether the car was just broken, but he then turned right of his own accord into the wall.
Ouch.
George McClay, sorry, I think it was Harold, had a little bump as well. Tony Kloosterman managed to avoid it. Ronald Moons went the wrong way round and was in it. And Johnny Brandon avoided it as well. So quite a few cars in a innocent incident.
Sounds like an M25 on a Monday morning job, that one. So I'm looking backwards from George McClay's car at Tony honing in on him at the moment.
Tony just crossed the wall. Johnny's putting in a pass, I believe.
He certainly is. He's got his entire car in front there. Tony's lost his front quarter panel on the left hand.
He brushed the wall coming out of that last corner.
Tony will be less than happy about that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Tony's missing a left front wing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know what that'll do in terms of performance. Yeah, he drove around nearly the whole race with that last time.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be harming him at the moment. And again, I think it's a physics thing with iRacing, because there's not even a scratched bit of paint on Tony's car. It's just like the wing has flown off into the crowd somewhere to someone to take home.
Everyone needs a souvenir, even the digital people.
Exactly. Clyde, Pete and I were discussing that before. Don't you think on a track like Belle Isle that, like you said, the physics probably have a lot to do with it with iRacing, but don't you think cars are less affected by missing a fender or something on a track like Belle Isle than they would at Daytona or Bathurst or someplace like that?
Oh, most definitely. There's only the sort of one, half decent straight round here. The rest of it is on the brakes and turning.
Exactly.
So, you can get away with some damage. And, Belle Isle's one of those tracks like Bristol in NASCAR. If you come back with a perfectly clean car, you haven't been driving hard enough.
Exactly, indeed.
It's like a receipt, isn't it? Like a rite of passage.
Yeah, most definitely, yeah.
So now Johnny's shrugged off the attentions of Tony, or rather, more likely, Tony's dropped back because he's got damage. Johnny's now found George McClay on the...
He's going to be nipping at his heels pretty shortly.
Well, George is above him in the league at the minute.
Yeah, George is a tough trooper, I'll tell you. He's been doing an excellent job this year.
Steve LaValle is still in 5th. He'll be mopping up some good points if he can do that or better by the end of the race.
Yeah, and just looking at Harold in the lead, he's got exactly the same damage as Tony.
Exactly.
He does, yeah. It's a bit suspicious, isn't it? But you did say that Harold was in some sort of fracas at the beginning.
Yeah, I believe it was Harold. It was definitely one of the Fitzstein guys, probably Harold. I see Johnny's right up the chuff of George, I believe it is.
Yeah, he's dropping off him where he knows he can't overtake. And then he's pulling right up to his rear bumper when he's got the opportunities. Although Johnny's traction out of some corners is questionable.
He was inches from that wall then.
He certainly was. That's why I was mentioning it.
A little more than halfway through this race.
Cheers, Bill.
Perhaps you should take some tips, Pete. You know, inches from the wall, not into the wall.
And for anybody watching who's new, we're not going to mention that ever again. So,
well, Pete, I'm a little surprised it took 10 minutes for him to come out with that one.
Yeah, absolutely right. There goes Johnny.
Twice.
Twice, yeah. I did, yeah. Oh, and
Whoa,
Johnny's taking a shortcut across that one, I think. Does that constitute a slowdown or not on this track, Cloud? I can't remember.
We don't know on this track what the slowdowns are.
Oh, contact.
I can tell you from practicing, Pete, you got to be inside that little triangular curbing that he just went across. You got to be on.
Right. So for the viewers, cutting a track in iRacing gets you a slowdown, just in case you didn't know that. And some of them can be brutal. You might as well park it, get a sandwich from the man in the van on the other side of the fence, get back in your car, and carry on racing.
Really?
And this is going to turn into a three-way battle because George is defending from Johnny, which is bringing Tony back in.
He's not catching like I thought he would, though. Yeah, here we go. Oh, I thought Johnny was going to go for that one then.
Yeah, Tony seems to be just a little bit off in this.
Ooh, and he got a big fishtail just then.
And obviously this is all playing into Harold's hands.
Yep, he's off down the road.
I was going to say, in spite of Harold's damage, I don't think it'd take nothing short of a nuclear strike for him to come in right now to fix.
Oh, there's no chance of that. That's just simply not happening. Steve LaValle carries on in 5th. Ronald Moons is a bit further back with damage and an awkward handling car. In 6th, Michael Frost doing a great job in 7th. Gary Croft's coming up onto his rear bumper in 8th after all the damage. Chris Jackson all on his own in 9th. And then back to Harold Stadler at the front.
Yeah, Johnny's just had a good look at what George has got in his boot or trunk for our colonial friend.
There's no contraband in there. And
Well, a lot of your colonial friends understand the boot part. Not a problem.
Tony's definitely closing in.
he is.
Like you say, not as quick as maybe you'd think he would. Perhaps that damage isn't helping, but he's definitely getting there.
How long do you think before Johnny loses his patience?
I don't know what corner it is, but Johnny is so close to one particular wall. I've currently got it on TV3 view, and it shows you a head-on shot as they come round this corner, and how Johnny's missing the wall, I've got no idea. And to be fair to Johnny, he has got more patience in this series.
Yeah. I was just going to wonder if your commentator's curse was going to kick in. Because he was so close to him, then you couldn't get an A4 piece of paper.
A little nudge there.
Clyde, I think your corner's coming up. You're talking about not this one, but the very next one, I believe, is the head-on.
He's not going to wait about. Tony's right on him now.
Tony has closed in.
Whoa. George got very
Wow.
close to that wall.
Wow. Had to be a little sanding on that one. Wow.
There's the wall of champions coming up, is it?
Oh, that one, yeah. Okay.
So he's not with him quite as he needs to be there, is he?
No, but he closes up so much under brakes and then loses the back end.
That's Johnny's magic, isn't it? Closing under braking.
Tony doesn't seem to have the straight line speed either.
Is it me?
Johnny's
Is it
looking.
me?
Here we go.
Johnny's looking.
He certainly is. That was less than graceful.
Yeah, he didn't force the issue though.
No, he didn't. It was
He
all.
could have just run George into the wall then, but he didn't.
George tried to do that on his own.
Oh, was that Harold into the wall there?
That was the last lap, wasn't it?
Oh, goodness. Okay. Oh, that's too bad.
And we've got Michael Frost in the pits as well. Oop.
Has Harold done that all on his own?
I think he was far enough ahead. I don't think he had anybody around him.
Yeah, I think he. Yeah, I'll wind it back, see what happened.
Yeah, have a look at that. He's now in fourth with Steve LaValle crawling all over him like a bad.
So that puts Johnny in first, George McClay in second, and Tony Klusterman in third.
And Tony's not got the best handling car, has he?
Boy,
He's,
he really stuffed it into that corner. Wow.
Yeah, he overdrove that. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Harold just outbraked himself.
That's too bad. Clyde, I was saying to Pete before, it amazes me that in real life they actually race Indy cars on this track.
Yeah, I have watched most of the IndyCar season this year because they've shown it on one of the sports channels that I subscribe to. Some of the racing was good, but to be honest, from when I used to watch it 15 years ago, it's a bit rubbish.
Yeah, it's changed a lot.
I feel like that about Formula One.
Tony's just took the undercoat off of the right-hand side of the car now.
Yeah, he lost a lot of time that time also.
That doesn't look pretty. Actually, looks like Pete's been driving it.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, he's got no front end traction now, Tony. Whatever damage it is, it's affected his.
And then what happens is it goes into oversteer coming out.
It does, yeah. Yeah, well observed, yeah.
So we got a good battle with Harold, who's obviously got damage, and I believe it's Steve LaValle behind him.
I've said his name in about 6 different ways. One of them must be right, so. I don't know much about Steve LaValle.
No, he's another one of those, the drivers we like in the league. He's a gentleman driver. He's the first one to put his hands up if he makes a mistake or, number of occasions he's asked me for replays to see if he could have done something better in certain situations. So type of driver you want. Oh, these guys are on the back of Tony now.
Certainly are.
I think
watching.
Tony's had more damage because the other side of his car's caved
Tony's
in now,
pitting.
and he's gone in the pits.
Box, yeah.
Clyde, I was saying to Pete during the first race how far Steve LaValle and Rich Warmingham have come this year. They're really amazing how much they progressed.
Yeah, Rich Warmingham is, he had a couple of slow seasons and then just, took off. Steve LaValle and Lane O'Connor, two drivers that are starting to do really, really well. I don't think they get to participate as much as they would like to, but the more seat time they get, the better they get. So yeah, they're doing well.
Are we on the last lap now, Sam? Do you want to talk us in, Clyde?
Yeah, can do. So Johnny Brandon is gifted a victory, shall we say? Just providing he can keep hold of it, which he's doing. Following behind will be George McClay.
Oh, and a real fancy drifty corner for Johnny Brandon also.
Harold Stadler comes over in third with Steve LaValle in fourth. And Tony, despite his stop, well, it looks like he just went in for his fast repair. Tony's going to come home in fifth. Behind Tony is Ronald Moons, looking battered, shall we say? Although I have seen worse.
Careful.
Gary Croft, after he had his cigar at the start, looks like he's going to come home in seventh. Chris Jackson, another one with damage at the start, came back out again. He's going to come home in eighth. And that's going to be all of our finishes for tonight. Or for the second race tonight.
Another race full of action. Johnny Brandon's busy doing drifts around corners like he did last time he raced and won. So what does that do to the championship, Clyde?
Absolutely no idea till the morning, mate. Johnny's still drifting.
It was a well-constructed race from him, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly was. I think you never take a win away from Johnny, but I do feel it was gifted to him. Harold outbraking himself. I think Harold had Johnny's just totaled his car. I think Harold had the legs on Johnny. I think George managed to hold him up enough that Harold would have taken that win if it wasn't for his mistake. But yeah, again, I did watch the first race, although I wasn't with you guys. Big incident at the start, lots of cars affected, and exactly the same in race two. One teammate goes into the wall, the other one hits him, and it's just a concertina effect from there. And you get, before you know it, 3, 4, 5 cars that race is over, really.
Yeah, and it's similar at Bathurst, isn't it? You've got some horrible walls up at the top of the hill there.
I couldn't tell you. I've never hit them.
I knew that was coming. Knew it was coming straight away. Those sort of races, if you get a crash, it's not one car that crashes generally, is it? It's a massive pile-up. You collect loads of people because there's nowhere to go. You can't go on the grass when there's a concrete wall next to you, can you?
Exactly. Indeed.
And that one was, it was quite funny because the the guys that picked the right-hand side to miss the accident just sort of brushed other cars. And you see Ronald come, and you see, you can almost read his mind. What's shall I go left? Shall I go right? Let's go left. And it was just blocked. There was nowhere for him to go.
Yeah, I wish I'd seen that. I might watch it again later on the broadcast, to be honest, because I couldn't get in time because iRacing hates me today. But not too dissimilar. That first right left at the start, it bunches people up very, very quickly, doesn't it? And if you've got a slower car in front, you are going to pass.
Yeah, it's very definitely a difficult place to pass, and you got to be at the right place at the right time to get by people without actually punting them off into the wall. So it's difficult.
Well, that all sets us up nicely for race 3 with a sunset race. So we've seen around tracks where it's gone dark very, very quickly, and I think it's just going to add another element of challenge to this already challenging track.
Well said.
Okay, so join us again in about 10 minutes' time, where we'll have the third and final race of the evening. I shall be back with Bill and Pete and Sam. Grab yourself a drink, and see you all in 10 minutes.
Come on
See you
back.
shortly.
Okay, welcome back everybody to the Racetech V8 ESC Sprint Series, Race 3 from a darkening Belle Isle. With me is Mr. Bill Switzer and Mr. Pete Bingham. I think it's just popped off to the ladies' room, and Mr. Sam Boozin on the magic buttons. So, Bill, we've had a couple of interesting races so far. Couple of accidents right at the start of the race that has taken some cars out. Can you see anything different happening this time, or do you think we're going to get a nice clean couple of laps and let the guys race?
Well, we can always hope that we'll have a nice clean start, but with the confines of Belle Isle, walls on each side, a car that's a beast to handle, it's almost inevitable that you're going to have some of that. But hopefully, we avoid it this time because it makes it a lot more interesting. But even so, we've had some really exciting races, close battles here and there throughout the field of 9 cars. Unfortunately, it's a little bit low, but it's been really great as far as I'm concerned. I hope we have something as well, if not better, for this one.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, as is our usual format, race 3 is set at sunset conditions. So the headlights are on in the cars. And, you know, as we said in the break, we've been to tracks with this sunset setting, and the sun has disappeared quite rapidly in the last 5 minutes of the race. You know, it's been certainly a challenge for the drivers to get round in the darkness. And with the closeness of the walls at Belle Isle, you know, even in the last race, Harold was running away with it and made a mistake. The darkness is just going to make it that much easier to make a mistake. So, you know, it's not over till the fat lady sings in this race.
Indeed, indeed, and I think all the teams are going to have to invest in a little more sheet metal for the next one because they've been using it up in droves. So we'll see what happens in this one.
No, they've already run out of any kind of panels now.
It would be a good feature if you could make the cars carry their damage over to the next race.
Well, yeah, it could
In a
make it
series like
interesting.
this.
Anyway, the guys are gridding up.
Okay, we still have a few people climbing in.
Revs are rising. Ooh, bit of a jump at the back there. I think, don't know if that was Harold.
And Lane takes them away. So, into the final race of the evening. Can they get round here in one piece? Each car. Oh, no, Chris Jackson sideways. That's not good.
Yeah, collected Mike Frost and Tony again.
Yeah, Tony's car looks like it's third hand and been mashed already by one of those big crushers.
Yeah, Steve LaValle's got a front wing missing.
Well, while all that's going on, Rich Warmington has moved into the lead with Lane O'Connor chasing him and Ronald Moose. And
let me see if I can see what happened there.
And Chris Jackson must have reset to the pits because he's not on the track.
Yeah, that was the initial coming together was Chris and Mike.
Yeah.
It looked. It's very hard to call from this angle, but it looks like Chris is taking the normal racing line, and Mike is just there.
Yeah, well, he's nudged him and pushed him round, hasn't he? Tony couldn't see it, I don't think, because Gary Croft's car was in front, and Tony's shimmied when he should have sashed.
Yeah, Tony's definitely, yeah.
And George McClay going very slowly in the pits, although it doesn't look like there's any damage to his vehicle, so I don't know what's going on there. Any ideas, Clyde?
No, I will have a look though. I was just looking at the aftermath of that accident, and Steve LaValle was avoiding action, and managed to hit the wall on the right-hand side.
Michael Frost has continued to circulate with a bust up front end.
And who was it you said was in the pits?
George.
Right,
His
let's see
car
if I
looked
can see
perfect.
what happens with George.
Tony's looks very, very battered at the front. Johnny's got cat-like reactions, stopped him piling into the back of it all. He's now ahead of Tony. Seems like a feature of the night.
Okay, so no idea at all with George. He just seemed to slow, let cars past him, and then drive into the pits. Doesn't look like he's got any damage at all.
It's very odd. Johnny's about to line up Gary Croft. Gary's car looks like it's needing some extra bits and pieces added to it. Sure, it didn't come out of the showroom looking like that.
There was obviously something wrong with George's car because he's done a pit stop and then come back out again.
Yeah.
It was almost as if he thought, do you know what, I can't be chuffed with this race and just pitted. But, because there didn't seem to be any damage. But he's out again, so
Maybe
no
he
idea.
thought, I'll go in here and keep away from all these idiots.
Well, yeah, there is that.
Gary Croft has either let Tony past or he's going to park his car because Tony went past at Mach 4 just.
Well, Ronald Moons has dropped back to fourth after bicycling around one corner there on two wheels, and Harold Stadler got by him in the.
Harold doing a decent job, no damage on his car. Lane O'Connor, damage free. Rich Warmingham heading up the field.
Yeah, so we're
pulling away.
XVR 1-2, but not the usual XVRs.
No, it's bizarre, isn't it? The race is upside down at the moment.
Harold's getting very close to Lane O'Connor, and there'll be a little action here very short.
Johnny's just overtaken Ronald Moons, and doesn't look like he's waiting around for a handshake from that one.
I think Lane O'Connor is for the guys that follow NASCAR, he is the Ryan Newman of the V8s. If you don't know Ryan Newman, they call him Kidney Stone because he's hard to pass.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how long he can keep Harold behind him.
Yeah, it's get close now.
Yeah, and the light's dropping now as well.
Johnny Brandon has just launched one over the curb, and how he missed the wall, I have no idea.
Okay, Harold's on the inside. Nope. He backed down smartly.
He's got a lot of rear brake bias in that car, Harold, because the rear rotors were glowing red and there was nothing from the front.
Johnny Brandon's just scything through this field now. Sorry, Sam.
No, that was me, but that's okay.
Okay.
I was just gibbering. What I was going to say is Lane O'Connor's really doing a pretty good job of keeping Harold behind him.
I've tried to pass Lane, believe me, and it's not an easy feat. And Lane used to be one of those drivers that you could rely on to make a mistake and get past.
There we go.
There goes Harold.
No mistake there from Lane. It was just opportunity taken by Harold.
Yeah, what I was trying to say was, say Lane, you could rely on him to make a mistake, but he just doesn't make them anymore.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't think Harold needed the mistake on that one. It was a job done under braking.
Yeah, no, Johnny's
Indeed.
lined him up. I'm pretty sure Lane will not make it easy, but a lot easier for Johnny.
Giving him about 6 truck widths down that. It's not straight, is it? Nearly.
Yeah, they're not straight.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, if Lane gave him too much trouble, I'd have to send Lane a note and ask him who he's driving for next year.
Yeah, sorry, Harold went very sideways around that corner, and Johnny's caught up with him.
I think that is the Brandon Mirror effect.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of him in my mirror, and boy, when he comes up, that car looks awfully big.
He scared the hell out of me in the Watkins Glen race. I was busy concentrating on Gary Croft on my right, and there was a black car passing me on the left, and I was like, you can't pass there. And it freaked me out so much that I twitched the steering wheel and crashed into again.
But you crashed in the V8s.
Can we please not mention today again?
Okay, Johnny's making a bid. Nope. Johnny Brandon all over Harold Stadler at this point.
It amazes me how close Johnny gets to the back of people's cars without hitting them at all. They go under braking and he doesn't hit them. They go tight into a corner. He's just not there. I'm hoping there's no commentator's curse coming because it's Harold and he's a great racer and a great bloke. So
Yeah.
I'm just amazed at Johnny's control and patience when he needs it. And then as soon as Tony turns up in his mirrors, it's right. Patience is over.
Indeed. He
Must be
sure
that
can
grip
judge
hack.
very well.
What was that, Clyde?
I think it must be that grip hack.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, no grip hack. No
Whoa!
grip.
That could have been ugly.
That was a brown underpants moment, wasn't it? Code
Brown.
Yeah, Code Brown as Clyde comes out. God, he got close to the wall.
That's
there
what I'm saying.
well.
Every
What is
time on that corner.
He's
I
going to
bet
have
there's
to sign it.
on the outside of that mirror.
Ooh, what's going on here? I don't think there was contact.
No, I don't think there was. I think Harold just lost it a little bit there, but he gathered it up and stayed in front. And this is bringing Lane back into it, but I don't think Lane is going to have a go at Johnny if he gets there.
I think there'll be some discussions in a tent somewhere afterwards, won't there?
If he doesn't, I think he's a big girl's blouse. I'll just put that on the record.
Somewhere behind Lane is Tony with a car that looks even more mangled than the last time I saw it. So has he had some more collision?
I haven't seen anything because I've been concentrating on this front battle, to be honest.
A little bit further back, we've got Chris Jackson. A very beaten up red sim ability car.
Oh, Harold just scraped the wall. A few sparks were flying there.
Rich Warmingham's just disappeared off down the road.
Yeah, I think Harold is spending 75% of the lap defending now.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Johnny.
Oh, that was a late break. And he's gone.
And he missed the turn. Okay, Harold, you can rest easy, but here comes the next guy, Lane.
How many laps has Johnny got to win this now?
Well, we're what, 12 and a quarter minutes into it.
He's got a lot of rear end damage.
Has he?
Not the first time I've heard that about Johnny.
Yeah, I think his car has basically been clean all day till that.
He's still in third.
Yeah, but it's about time he shared the champagne with somebody new, isn't it? He's fifth, actually.
Yeah,
Ignore
sorry,
your
my
screen, yeah.
screen hasn't updated. So you got Tony's now closing on Lane.
Which is a miracle considering what his car looks like.
Well, we all know Tony's a driver, and he's never quit racing is the name of his team, and that's what he believes in.
Absolutely. Is that right? That Rich Warmingham's naffed off 10 seconds down the road now?
Yeah, he certainly has.
Unless he bends it, it says, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, so Rich can only lose it from there. So, yeah, we've got Gary Croft, I think he's running 7th.
Yeah, in a bit of a beaten up car. And Steve Lavalley in 8th. That's a bit back from where he was in the other two races. All over his back bumper, but he's been there for a while now. And he's not shown his nose to him too.
I don't know, he's closer now.
It's 4/10 free the last time round. This is more like a bit of a 10th.
Sparks from Steve as he scrapes the wall.
Not the day that Chris Jackson was hoping for, but he's soldiering on in 6th place at the moment.
You mean Tony and Lane?
Oh.
Yeah, Tony's reeled him in now. Tractor beams on. I don't know how Tony's headlights are working, mine. I think he must be holding one headlight in each hand,
Probably, yeah.
steering with his knees or something.
He's pushing pretty hard, I'll tell you. Woo.
Well, one more position gets him even more points. Lane's made himself a bit of a job to do there. He's done. Oh, here we go.
There he
Tony's
comes.
pulled out and he's pulled alongside him. Johnny won't be happy that Lane's not written off Tony. Tony's on two wheels for part of that corner.
Tony's cars look pretty loose all day.
Looking more loose now, isn't it? He's gaffer
Yeah.
taped two torches to the front of it, apparently.
So it's getting very, very dark now.
It certainly does.
The Gary and Steve battle is still going.
Couple more laps, I think, still left in this.
And we got 3.5 minutes to go.
It's when you get to this sort of lighting that you want to be able to turn your lights off and just sneak past somebody.
Stealth pass.
There you go. Well, I'll tell you, Rich is in a different zip code on in this race. Wow.
He certainly is. He's stretching his legs there, isn't he? He's a bit
Certainly.
squirrely when he comes out of certain turns.
Gary's scraped the wall again, but it didn't seem to slow him up.
You're not going to notice on the damage on his car, are you?
Take it easy, Rich Warmingham. You pretty much have it in the bag. Just take it easy. Don't make any mistakes. Easy to say, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Rich has got about 12 seconds now, with about 3 minutes left in the race, maybe a little bit more. So, yeah, I think if I was Rich, I'd be sort of easing off a little bit now.
One person that isn't is Harold. He's just nearly gone sideways around that last corner. He's certainly towing.
I just had a good look around Gary Croft's car, and I don't even think there's any scrap value left on it.
The windscreen's still there, though, right?
Yeah. I think all he needs to do now is to lose the rear wing. And that'll probably be the worst V8 car I've ever seen.
Have you seen the front of Tony's?
Yeah, but Gary's is the front, the sides, the back.
Oh, and he's sideways.
Oh,
Very bad. Oh,
oh.
no contact, I don't think. Sorry? There was contact, right.
Looked like contact to me. I'll just have another look.
I'm busy rewinding as well.
More of a netcode contact than anything. There wasn't a crunch.
No, it was a little bump.
So Johnny's still going in 5th with the rear end of his car missing.
Yeah, we last lap now, son.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Lane's currently in 4th. Tony's up to 3rd and still going sideways. Harold's in 2nd. And Rich Warmingham is away in the lead. Ronald Moon's currently running 9th. George McClay in 8th. Be interesting to see what actually happened with George. Maybe put on a qualifying set or something with the wrong fuel in. I don't know.
Could be that. That's as good a guess as any, I would say. Sounds like something that would cause a stop without any problem, apparent problem.
Yeah, I've lost Chris Jackson.
He was in 6th.
Yeah, he's disconnected.
Yeah, I'll go and try and find out what happened.
He's gone. Okay.
Chris pitted.
Okay.
Chris boxed the car, but there wasn't anything wrong with it. Maybe he just needed some diaries or something.
Yeah, or perhaps he chipped a fingernail and couldn't carry on. He had to go to the hospital.
Got to go to my manicurist. He was in the pits for quite a while, but...
Yeah, I think Chris has apologised to Mike for that incident at the start. He said he had no spot of sound and just turned in a bit early, which is basically what it looked like.
Yeah.
Although I wouldn't say Chris turned in early. I think Chris was turning in on the racing line and Mike just happened to be there.
So, we're approaching the end of this now.
We're coming up on the last lap.
Okay, so
Here we go, final lap.
yeah, that was the final lap. So Rich Warmingham brings it home in 1st. Harold Stadler's now coming round to finish in second. Tony finishes third. Nearly said
Tasty.
pace car finishes fourth. Okay, so Lane and Johnny have just had a big accident after the line. So we had Lane in fourth, Johnny in fifth.
Lane's busy doing donuts.
Steve Lavalley in sixth, who saw Johnny doing donuts and reversed away from it. He didn't want anything to do with that. Gary Croft brought it home in seventh, George in eighth, and final car across the line was Ronald Moon. So, 3 interesting races there tonight, guys. Plenty of incidents. 11 cars on the grid. We'll be hoping for at least double that next week. Could turn into a bit of carnage, I think.
Yeah, Belle Isle's lethal, isn't it? If these guys can't get around it without bending some panels and bumping into one another, then I don't know what'll happen when you double the size of the field. It will be carnage. There's no doubt.
I have to tell you, it's a really exciting place to watch a race at. It's these guys were amazing. I mean, Rich, stellar performance in that last race. Enjoyed the battle between the rivalry between Johnny Brandon and Tony Klusterman in the first race, and like Clyde mentioned, I think Johnny kind of inherited the last one at the mistake that Harold made. It was just too bad, but it was a good night, and hopefully next week will make a better show of it.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Just had a note from Chris Jackson on the broadcast. His son woke up. So I believe that's why Chris had to pull into the pits and park the car.
I figured it might be a personal thing, maybe.
I'm still going with the fingernail issue. Right, so we have Mr. Johnny Brandon and Mr. Tony Klusterman in the interview room. I'm going to drag Tony in first because obviously he needs to get back to the garage and get his hammer out. Tony Klusterman, welcome to the booth.
How you doing?
You seem to have an interesting night. There wasn't many straight panels left on your car after them 3 races. Belle Isle is a bit like that, I suppose. I think I likened it to Bristol in the NASCAR earlier on in the broadcast. But it's a fun place to race at. What do you think about Belle Isle, Tony?
A lot of fun. It is a difficult track, and it's easy to clip the walls. Funny though, every time you hit a wall, it's just a 0x. Regardless of how much damage you had. In the second race, I actually had to pit for repairs there with a lap to go. So, anyways, it was fun racing. It was good racing with Johnny there, and in the last race, I was trying my best to catch Harold, but he had the measure of me.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but the front end of your car was mangled again in race 3. So we were speaking earlier in the broadcast about this is probably one of those tracks that you can get away with that sort of damage because there isn't the long fast straights where the aero's going to affect you.
Yeah, that incident happened on the first lap. There was something that happened in front of me, and I had nowhere to go, so I went right in the back of whoever was pushing Chris, I think. So that wasn't too bad. The second race, our setup was just junk, so I'm surprised we even finished that race as well as we did.
Was there much setup change that was required between the races then, or were you guys just going with the same setup for every race?
Yeah, we had the same set for every race and just a adjustment of tire pressure, but the second race it was just awful. It couldn't turn in at all. So obviously have to go back to the drawing board on that one.
Yeah, I noticed your understeer on a few of the turns, Tony. Just talk us through what happened at the end of race one, because when I was in Johnny's car as he kind of nerfed on the inside of you, and I could see the underneath of your car. He seemed to slow down towards the end of that lap, but you didn't pass him. Was there something spoken between the two of you or not?
No, nothing spoken at all. He was doing the gentlemanly thing and going to let me buy again, but it's okay.
And are you gonna give back some of the sponsor money for the people that put sponsorship on your car? Because there wasn't many panels left on a couple of those, right?
Well, you're right there. Yeah, well, what can I say? It's Belle Isle. Or should I say it's Belle Isle baby, similar to Bristol.
Well, Tony, I tell you, maybe you didn't get the results you wanted, but you gave it a hell of a go. I mean, you chased down people that I didn't even think you would get near, and like you said with Harold, I thought you had him there, but at the end, I guess he looked in the mirror, saw you coming, so might have pushed a little harder. But I could tell you were pushing hard.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. First and third race, especially the first race with Johnny, he had a little bit better speed than I did at the exit of 2, just over the crest there, and he made it interesting going into that right-hander at the end of the straight every time.
Yep.
So, yeah, my bumper got used up a little bit today.
He seemed to, I don't know, it might have been just a visual thing, but it appeared that he could come out of the corner just a little better than you in spots, but and conversely, you were better in other spots too. It was a heck of a race. I thought that was wonderful, and it was too bad that you guys got together. But like you said, Belle Isle baby, it's you got no place to go. It's very tight, and it's going to happen.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was a lot of fun. It sets us up for next weekend. We know what to expect. I'll just bring some reinforced bumpers next week.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us in the booth, Tony. We certainly enjoyed watching you race tonight. Anybody you'd like to thank before we let you?
Never quit racing. All our teammates for working on sets, obviously. Racetech for sponsoring the main series, and thanks for doing the broadcasting.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Take care.
Take care, Tony.
Okay, so we've moved Tony out, and we've got Mr. Johnny Brandon in with us. Welcome to the booth, Johnny.
Evening, guys.
So, Belle Isle, walls, narrow, car parts missing. It seemed like a lot of fun out.
Yeah, it's great fun. Really enjoyed it. Quite surprised. I mean, I liked the track last time we raced it. I didn't touch it until last night. So, yeah, I mean, the race one was epic. Gutted it ended the way it did, but I really enjoyed that. It's just a shame it ended the way.
Yeah, we enjoyed watching that one. Did you manage to get away with no damage for all 3 races?
Yeah.
No, he was destroyed in the last race.
Oh, after the flag.
Yeah.
Was. Yeah.
Good old Lane.
We were having a bit of a laugh there.
Pete, you stole my thunder. I was going to say to Johnny that I got really disappointed that on that last race he got damaged because nobody gets around there with a clean car, and he did it twice that I know of, and that's just incredible stuff. You put on a hell of a show there, Johnny. I got to tell you.
Cheers, Bill. It was harder than it looked. I'll tell you that.
We know. I was telling.
Sorry, go.
Johnny, I was telling the guys during the race, just for the hell of it, that I did a few practice laps out there the other day, and there wasn't one time I didn't go around and hit a wall someplace. It's just an incredible place to drive. I'll tell you. Wow.
It actually probably helped me because it made it so much more difficult behind Tony. But the plus side of that was I couldn't actually see the walls. All I could see was this bright green and yellow Holden in front of me, and I was just desperately trying to follow it. So yeah, probably helped.
So I've just been handed a brown envelope with a large sum of money in it from
Yeah, I'll
Lane
take that.
O'Connor.
No problem.
He's just said, remember to ask Johnny how I beat him.
Yeah, he done me in race 3, as did Rich. Did really well. Lane was a bit unlucky. I think race 1 he got involved in something before turn 1, I think.
Lots of people
And then
do.
race 2, he was to blame. He wiped out half the field, so that kind of negates the bad luck in the first race that he was such a plonker in the second race, which I found hilarious. And then race 3 he done me. Yeah, I did say to him before the race, I got a feeling this is your one, and he just laughed at me and told me to shut up. But as it turned out, it was right.
Yeah, so race 1, obviously there was a bit of a pile up, which took a few cars out. Same again in race 2. Race 3 was a bit better. Now, you know, we're hoping we're going to get at least double the turnout for next week. Do you think that's going to be more of a problem with more cars on the track? It's like, I think Pete said earlier, it's like a Bathurst. When somebody crashes, there's nowhere for anybody to go. Is it just having that luck to? I see in race 2 with it when Lane caused the accident. You and Tony were probably the only two guys that escaped through that with no damage. But is that something that worries you for next weekend?
It's something I should be worried about. I think it'll probably be an issue because it's very easy to make a mistake around here, and if you do, then if you start sliding or you get a bit of damage, you're only going to accentuate and make the likelihood of another problem even greater because you heat the tires up around here. It's a problem. It punishes you. So yeah, there probably will be carnage. Probably no more so than any other time because most people are pretty sensible. The difference is obviously if there is something and you're at the back, or I'm at the back in a reverse grid, and something happens in the midfield, it could block the track around here. If we have 29 cars, there might not be anything you can do anyway. So because there's nowhere for them to go. So that could be interesting. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but I'd say it's great round here in the V8. I tell you what, it feels bloody fast. It's great.
And what was that? Race 3, obviously, we do the sunset setting. And I don't know, it just seems to me that the sun sets on iRacing quicker than it does outside of my window. And it looked pretty dark by the end. Does that play on your mind as well when you're going round?
Not really. It did get bloody dark very quickly. But it was quite cool. I kind of started struggling to see my braking spots. You might have noticed at the end of the first straight. But no, it was quite cool. I quite like that. It's nice to change it up a little bit, but it definitely makes it trickier.
So
Yeah,
Johnny,
well, all adds to the fun. Sorry, Bill.
No, that's quite all right. So you're getting a lot better at your drifting. I noticed after one of your wins there, you were drifting every corner until you came across the start-finish line. Then you had a crash.
That don't ruin it, Bill, with that bit. I was hoping you didn't see that. It was good up till there. Yeah, I'm trying. It's all part of the fun of driving this car. You can't do it in the race because you just kill your lap time. But
I'll tell you, that's a tricky thing to drift that car. I know I've tried it a little bit on my own. It's not easy.
Yeah, I've made a fool of myself trying after most races for months, if not years now. So it's about time I start getting the hang of it. But I'll keep.
Well, I tell you, did an admirable job here, buddy, till the start-finish line.
I should have quit while I was ahead. That's it.
Yep.
Right, well, on that note, we will obviously let Johnny go. Anybody you'd like to thank, Johnny, before we disappear?
Just everybody in XVR except for Lane O'Connor, obviously. Immortal. and all you guys for doing the broadcast. Thanks very much, guys. And yeah, look forward to next week. I'm sure it'll be very different.
I'm sure it will. So that was Mr. Johnny Brandon, winner of, I believe, race 1 and 2, maybe. And
Correct.
then Death and Destruction in race 3. So, yeah. On the whole, guys, I thought, again, even with a small field, provides good racing. And double the grid size at least next week would be nice. And I think there could be some surprises, because we've seen tonight that cars that with Harold out in front made one mistake, lost the race. Obviously Tony, Johnny, them sort of guys, their plan will be to qualify well, disappear in race 1, leave the carnage behind them, but then they're going to be starting near the back in race 2, so they're going to be in the middle of all the carnage. So yeah, I'd say on the whole, I think the racing was very, very good tonight. Any last words from you guys?
Go ahead, Pete.
I'm surprised that our race 3 winner didn't come into the booth. I think he deserves to stand up there and bask in his moment of glory. I know I would, because it would be so rare that I'd have to. That's the only one I've got. I'm looking forward to next week. Probably won't be looking forward to it when the lights turn green, but it's going to be interesting, is the best way to describe it.
All I can say is thank fuck I got my own car next week.
All right. For all the people still watching, I broke our car. I broke the Vulcan Esports
Twice.
V8 Holden. Twice in the same race for the Bathurst 1000. I'm to blame for us not getting beyond about lap 6.
Well, anyway, I tell you, to be honest with you, even though a small field, it was really better than expected. It had a lot of good battles, front, back, in the middle, close racing. The rivalry continues between Brandon and Kloosterman, which is just epic. Rich Warmingham, excellent, just a wonderful job in that last race. He was just dominant, and he didn't make not one wheel went wrong. He did a great job. And so anyway, next week will be very interesting, especially when Pete and I are near the back of the field messing everything up. So thanks again. Thanks for having me on board here, and looking forward to seeing you guys next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So that just leaves me to say thank you to Bill, Sam, and Pete for joining me in the booth. Thanks to our drivers that took part. Thanks to the pit girls. Thanks to Racetech, the sponsor. Thanks to whoever invented concrete and combustion engines and trees and darkness and squirrels. So the main series will be back next Saturday from Belle Isle, live on Apex Racing TV, and we will be back in 2 weeks' time, I believe it is. And if I was any good, I would let you know where we was racing from, but I can't remember. I believe it is Zandvoort, which is a very underused track. So yeah, tune in next week, Apex Racing TV for the main event, and tune in to listen to us three monkeys again in 2 weeks' time from Zandvoort. Thank you all for watching, and good night.